I got right here the LG G8 ThinQ, but I believe LG wasn't ThinQing properly when they designed this phone. Alright, here we go. Hello and welcome to another episode of All Tech Canada. This is Mo, and today I'm going to be talking about the LG G8, and as usual, I'm going to be putting the specs on the screen. In case I'm not able to, here's the ghetto paper that I usually read. And I'm going to be talking about what I liked, what I didn't like, and the bottom line when using the phone. And pretty much you can tell by the beginning of the video that I didn't really like the phone, but I'm going to tell you what I liked in it and why I didn't like the phone. So yeah, here we go. So the first thing I'm going to be talking about is what I liked about this phone. And to begin with, the battery. The battery on this phone is amazing. It's one of the best batteries I've ever had. Even one time I was trying to deplete it purposely to just to show how much endurance it can take, and it lasted for a long time. It lasted about 7 hours of screen time, which is 7.5 hours of screen time, which is really a lot for any phone I've used. The screen is nice, so it's a 6.1 Quad HD. It's an OLED display, and the colors are nice. It's a nice display, and you get a headphone jack, which a lot of companies are ignoring right now and ditching for those stupid wireless Bluetooth crap that you get. Thank you, Apple, for starting a stupid trend. The other thing I really liked about this phone is the design. Now, the design is one of those things you're going to notice right away as soon as you hold the phone. It feels nice, it feels compact, it feels solid in the hand, and it's slim. And I also like the fact that they didn't put any camera bump for their camera sensor. So it sits, when you put it on the table, it sits flush. There is no camera bump. I also like the fact that they put a proper fingerprint scanner. They didn't put any of those under display sensors, because when you have a fingerprint sensor, as in this case, you get faster response and more accurate readings. And pretty much that's everything. I know it's a small list, but that's pretty much everything I liked about this phone, to be honest. It's the rest is an Android phone. It's running Android 10 right now. And I know a lot of people go like etc etc. I dislike the phone because it's an LG, but I really tried to like this phone. So I first got it had Android 9, and I waited for it to get Android 10 before I make this video. But in the end, I truly didn't like this phone. Um, so, and here's why I didn't like this phone. So the first thing, the speakers on this phone, now it has a proper bottom firing speaker and this dumb under display crap. And the under display crap is when you're using it on a phone call, it's all right. You don't feel a difference. However, when you're trying to use it for as a speakerphone, which this phone is trying to do, and playing videos, it sounds really bad. It actually sounds like there's only one speaker. And if it's a mid-range device like the A70 phone that I reviewed last week, I wouldn't care much. But this is a high-end device. It has to have a proper speakers, proper screen. It has the proper screen, but it doesn't have the proper speaker. And that's the first thing I didn't like about this phone. Another thing I didn't like about this phone is that the fact they're still using that stupid boombox design, which supposedly when you put the phone on the table, it makes the sound more amplified, which on paper sounds cool, but honestly, most people hold their phones when they're playing music or watching videos, and when you're holding your phone and the boombox effect kicks in, it vibrates the phone and it makes the phone feel cheap. You know, when you put it at high volume, not very high, even like high enough volumes, and you start seeing the phone, feeling the phone vibrating in your hand, it feels really like a cheap phone. It doesn't feel like a high-end device, and that's another thing that I didn't like about this phone. By the way, for those who are saying I'm being biased, both of these two things, the under display speaker and the boombox crap, were taken off for the next LG. So the LG V60, which comes after this one, does not have these two features. It has proper speaker grill and a speaker at the top, and doesn't have that boombox crap. So pretty much LG knew they screwed up with these. Yet another thing I didn't like about this phone is the reception. Now, LG usually make phones with excellent call quality, and this one is no exception. So when I was using the phone, and I use a phone a lot to make calls, in the end, it's a phone. And the even though it has an under display speaker, which is actually around here, it's not even on the top. The call quality is good. However, the reception is not that good, even compared to devices of the same processor and the same time. Another thing I'm gonna knock on this LG is the camera. Now, the camera is not a bad camera. It's actually pretty decent. However, compared to other high-end devices from the same era, like the S10 and Google, even the 3XL, I'm not even going to the 4XL. Compared to the Google 3XL and the Samsung Galaxy S10, uh, the camera is inferior to both of these two devices. On top of that, the ultra wide angle. Now, there are two cameras at the back. There's the regular wide angle and the ultra wide angle. And the ultra wide angle on this device is not as wide. I think it's 109 degrees compared to things that are coming from Samsung and Huawei that are going to 120 degrees or so. So it's a wide angle, but it's not as wide as the competition. So in the end, you don't capture as much as you would like when you're using the ultra wide. And this brings us to the last thing I didn't like about this phone, which is LG's UI. Now, I've used different phones in the past, and I'm completely fine to have different user interfaces from manufacturers. For example, different icon shapes, different colors, uh, and different ways to have their notification bar. And that's completely fine with me. Even some manufacturers, they add extra features. That's completely fine with me. However, my issue with the LG UI is not the shape of the icons and all of that. It's the fact that they couldn't fix issues that's been bugging the software, the LG phones, ever since the LG G3 or so. And to begin with, the first issue I've had with this phone when I was using it is the occasional stuttering and the slowdowns. And when you're getting all these stuttering and occasional slowdowns, it really ruins the experience of using the phone. And I can't believe LG couldn't fix this issue ever since maybe the LG G3. So it carried over G4, G5, and G6, and even the G7. I talked about it in my review of the LG G7 about the LG slowdowns, and it still carried over the LG G8, which is something that's frustrating. So, for example, with Samsung, they used to have their slowdowns with the S3, S4, and even the S5. However, after the S5, they worked on their software and they made it more fluid and faster, and it made the experience of using the phone nicer than before. And that's the key, what I'm trying to point at. LG has been having the same slowdown and stuttering ever since the LG G3. Until now, they couldn't fix that issue. The other thing that I didn't like about LG software, also something that they couldn't fix since the LG G2 and actually even from the beginning of LG phones, the Optimus G, which is whenever you install a new app, it just goes to the end. So for example, I just downloaded Facebook, it went right here till the end. And every time you need to, and as you can see right here, there's a missing app, even though I always put it as sort app by alphabetical order. And each time I download a new app, I have to go back again, sort apps by alphabetical, and then it sorts them out, which is annoying. You can't do that every time you download an app. When you sort the apps alphabetically, it should just keep going with the alphabetical order of the apps. And the last thing I didn't like about LG's UI is the fact that, at least for this phone, I'm not sure about newer devices from LG. For this phone, it's not optimized for Android gestures. And I tried the Android gestures on it, and it's a huge mess when trying to use Android gestures. That's why I went back to the three buttons, which feels outdated to use right now. And this wraps up everything I have to say about the LG G8. Now, would I recommend this device? Honestly, if you can get it for dirt cheap, go for it. It's a decent device. Sure, it has issues, lots of them, but in general, the processor is still good, the screen is still good, the camera is decent, and still has the headphone jack. However, if you find this device and its price was close to other devices from Samsung or OnePlus or even Xiaomi or Pixel, honestly, I would go with these devices over this phone. And yeah, pretty much that's everything I have to say about this phone. Excellent phone, some issues. I honestly didn't like using it. It's been a long time since I didn't like using a phone, but I did not like using this phone. And with this, I'll wrap up this review. This has been Mo Abbas from Altic Canada. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below, or you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram and all these guys. And thanks much for watching. Stay safe. Have fun.